Look at this one. BBC News. Hidden history of U.S. germ testing. This is not something new. Let me tell you something. Saturday night, tomorrow night, my wife, medical student, is going to tell you the history of vaccinations and give her testimony about how to be healthy from the Bible. Notice this, friends. 50 years ago, American scientists were in a frantic race to counter what they saw as a Soviet threat from germ warfare. So what do? Notice this. Biological pathogens in the U.S. 50 years ago, BBC News, friends. Biological pathogens were developed and tested on volunteers from a pacifist church and released in public places. Our government released germs on the people 50 years ago to see what would happen. In the 1950s, the Seventh-day Adventist Church struck an extraordinary deal with the U.S. Army. Have mercy. I don't even want to read the rest of that. Have mercy, friends. That Protestant denominations are an abomination today, friends. So what about 9/11? Was 9/11 created by our government? Let me show you the evidence, friends. Now, is there an issue with Islam for real? Yes, there is. We'll talk about that tomorrow, how Islam is in Bible prophecy. We'll talk about the 7 trumpets of Revelation and Islam. But I believe that 9/11, friends, was created. Notice this now. This is actually an unclassified document from the CIA. You can go to cia.gov. This is called Operation Northwoods. How many of you have heard of Operations Northwoods? Only a few of you, okay? Operation Northwoods, I'll put it up on the screen. Notice this. This is unclassified. This is from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And here is unclassified. Notice what it was talking about here. Here it is. Operation Northwoods was a false flag plan proposed within the United States government in 1962. You can go to cia.gov and look me up. The plan called for the CIA or other operatives to commit apparent acts of terrorism in the U.S. U.S. cities to create public support for a war against Cuba. Now, does that sound like something familiar? Terrorism, war against a country, anything sound like something familiar here, friends? One plan, this is the plan that our government did. It was to develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area. They were going to dress up CIA operatives as Cubans and start blowing things up and say, see, the Cubans did it, let's go bomb Cuba. And JFK said no. I'm going to go on now. And that's why JFK got shot. By the way, I was trying today to get, you can go online and you can get the actual video of him getting shot and look up, it's scene 312 and 313. It's the slides. And you'll see the driver turn around in scene 312 and 313 like this and shoot him in the head. I couldn't paste it today. I was trying to get it off the online, but I couldn't get it off the YouTube site. This man was murdered, friends. There it is. Here's a scene of him getting shot right there. By the way, you will see in the video how the chief of the Secret Service agency actually called, you know how they run alongside, the Secret Service? They run alongside the back of the car. And if there's any shots, they cover them. They become human shields, right? That's what they do, don't they? When Reagan got shot, remember? They covered him. You'll notice in the scenes that they're jogging behind, right alongside, and the head Secret Service man in the car behind calls them away from the car just as they turn the corner. And you'll see one man do this. He stops and he shrugs like, why? 3 times. He goes, what? What? He can't understand why he's being called back, but he's obeying orders. A few seconds later, the shots ran out and killed JFK. It was an inside job to kill our president. There he is. And guess what? And there is the president. And guess who's standing right next to him? Jackie Onassis. Does anyone know who Jackie Kennedy was? She was from a Jesuit family. Right after her husband is killed, she's standing without a tear right next to LBJ getting sworn in. And does anyone know what he's putting his hand on? This is on Air Force One. Does anyone know what he's putting his hand on to swear? It's not a Bible. For the first time in U.S. history, he is the only president, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was a Freemason. He was the only president in United States history to refuse to take his oath of office swearing on a Bible. He got a Catholic catechism from the plane and swore on the Catholic catechism with a member of the Jesuit family standing next to him after her husband got shot. Friends, 9/11 is shredding our Constitution. Here it is, emergency response to terrorism. Guess what the U.S. Department of Justice did back in 1999? 2 years before 9/11, they put out a response to terrorism, and guess what they have in their crosshairs? The Twin Towers in their crosshairs in 1999. Was it planned? And what has happened since then, friends? Protecting the homeland, the Patriot Act, spying on Americans. U.S. can now confine citizens without charges. You have a Real ID Act coming out. You have a police state, all these police checkpoints all over the place. You have now airports. I remember I grew up right across the street from the LAX airport. You can go right in there. Now it's like going through the Berlin Wall. Now you have body scanners. Now they're doing snapshots. You know what this one is? They'll take a snapshot of you to see if you are a potential terrorist. What kind of brain waves are coming out? Okay, thank you so much. 8 minutes. All right, it's going to shut off. Thank you. Okay, then I'm going to wrap up. Notice this right here as well. Joint Terrorism Task Force, FBI. How many of you would like to know if you're a terrorist? Anyone like to know? I'd like to know I'm a terrorist. I don't think I am, but are you a terrorist? Here it is. This is the official. If you encounter any of the following, please call the Joint Terrorism Task Force or the FBI. So would you like to know if you're a terrorist? If you are, then somebody's going to call on you. Here it is. If you're a right-wing extremist, if you are a defender of the U.S. Constitution, if you are a group of individuals for paramilitary training, or if you're a hate group in the Christian identity. So if you're a Christian who upholds the Constitution, or if you believe in the common law. Right here, here's left-wing terrorists, political motivation, and here are single-issue terrorists. If you believe in animal rights, if you believe against anti-abortion, if you're cyber penetration, if you're a non-allied terrorist, I don't know what a non-allied terrorist is, a doomsday or cult-type group, maybe like meetings like this, talking about the end of time. If you're an insurgent or even a lone individual, you are now a terrorist. So how many of you fit in this group? It's pretty ambiguous, isn't it, friends? Could the U.S. be occupied by the United Nations soon? I'm wrapping up my last few minutes, so the DVD's going to shut off on me. Let me just show you my last few slides, that the U.S. will be under UN law in a health emergency. Does that sound familiar, friends? Is that coming soon to a world or a nation near you? 2007, August 28, 2007, here it is, the World Trade Organization, the World Homicide Organization, WHO. That's why it's not called the World Health, it's called the World Homicide Organization. And notice this, friend, these are pictures that Americans like you and I have been taking in their backyard. Notice this. Here are evidence that the UN, military police, these things are on our soil right now. Here are pictures of them on tractor trailers. Here are pictures of the UN creating for a health pandemic in America on the backs of flatbed trucks going down the freeway. Here's some more right there, military jeeps on the back of a semi-trailer. Here are some school buses, UN, that would transport you to a concentration camp. Here is more school buses and military vehicles. Here's a bird's eye view of somebody who flew over and took a picture of all the UN vehicles in some stockyard. Here again, right here, are some big bunkers. And look at this. What are tanks doing on American soil getting transported from the East Coast to the West Coast with UN tanks right in the middle of them? Here it is again, rocket launchers. What are these things doing on American soil? Here are some other barracks. Here's a UN tank on a railroad track going through the Midwest somewhere. Friends, wake up. Do you know what's about to happen in America? Executive Order 11,000 under Richard Nixon. Executive Order 11000 allows the government to mobilize civilians into work brigades under government supervision. Executive Order 11004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to reload communities, build new housing with public funds, designate areas. Remember, that's the Communist Manifesto. Executive Order 11051 specifies the responsibility of the Office of Emergency Planning and gives authorization to put all executive orders into effect in times of increased international tensions and economic or financial crisis. The National Security Act of 1947, on and on and on it goes. Look at, you can Google it. Google Civilian Inmate Labor Program. There are detention camps for Americans. Look at this. Civilian Inmate Labor Program. Where's it coming from? The Department of the Army. They say it. The U.S., dear Senator Brooks, to the Honorable U.S. Senator, the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command circulated a copy of a draft regulation governing the Army's Civilian Inmate Labor Program. The Army has it, friends. Here it is again. Congress of the U.S. A civilian prison camp. It has been funded, staffed, and does reflect current Army policy. Are you awake? The U.S. Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and I go on and on. They're building prison camps. Halliburton, 2006 press release. Homeland Security awards $385 million to award them to build prison camps. And here they are, going down the road. Look at this. Trains. This is like Nazi Germany. Whatever happened to the America I love? Look at, and here are the prison, these people are Americans like you and I are taking pictures all over America of pictures of prison camps. Nobody's there. They're empty. They're just sitting there empty in the woods. Look at this. Here's another one in the desert, just empty with prison guard towers. Another one somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Look at that, or Alaska. Look at this, enemy or prisoner of war compound, but nobody's there. They're empty. Look at this, all over America, prison camps. Miles and miles. Look at these huge fences. Look at this, United States Police, FEMA, they have a federal police force that is waiting to round you up. Here's another one, a massive military act in DeSoto National Forest in Mississippi. On and on and on. All over the United States of America, the police are being militarized. They are under the direction of Northcom. Here it is from ArmyTimes.com. Brigade Homeland Tour starts last October. We have American military right now on American soil ready to lock you up. CNN.com, Army Combat Unit to deploy within the U.S. Have mercy, friends. Christianity is asleep and dead. If we're not standing up and speaking out against this foolishness, I could care less who's Republican and Democrat. This is an abomination. Canada and the U.S. are going to deploy Canadian troops on American soil. Here it is, United States Northern Command. From the very website itself, Canada and America, San Antonio, Texas, February 14, 2008, are in a partnership for martial law. And on it goes. I'm going to close now, friends. RFID chips, and that's it. Friends, let me ask you a question. This is my last question. Are you ready for the crisis? Are you ready for the coming of Christ? That's the bottom line, friends. That's my last slide. Friends, we are on the verge of chaos taking place in America. Is this clear? Let me just ask you a question. Is it clear, at least what I shared tonight? This is evidence that we are on the verge of a global government and America is going down the tubes. Did you believe that we were that close? Did you believe that the prophecies of Revelation were that close to the coming of Jesus? Friends, we are on the verge of a catastrophe. And friends, I want to close out by just saying this. I'm probably off the DVD. It's done. I'm going to tell you something tonight, friends. Listen, please. If our lives are not right with Jesus, Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, He is the only way out of this mess. You understand this? If I was not a Christian, and I know my words are probably going to be twisted out of context in the future, but I'll say it anyway. If I were not a Christian, I would be taking up arms and fighting against what's taking place. I would be with my American brethren saying enough is enough. But as a Christian, I can't do that. As a Christian, this world is not my home. I recognize this nation is going, the Bible predicted it. The Bible predicted that this would be the last superpower, and when it went down, that final kingdom or a global government would come up. Are you with me, friends? Didn't it say that?